6th City Council meeting, our second meeting of July 2021. Should we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we remain standing? And okay, I'm sorry, is it Justin?
Yes, sir.
All right. Justin Thomas from the One Church is going to do our invocation today.
Yes, sir.
So Justin, if you come up and microphone.
Thank you. My name is Justin Thomas, and I'm one of the pastors at One Church. We're planting just down the road here across from the baseball fields at the high school in January, so we're grateful to be here. Thank you. Let's pray. Father, our Creator and our God, we thank you here as we gather in the name of the most powerful Jesus. We thank you for your faithfulness to our country and to our city of Westfield, Indiana. Thank you for the freedom and the liberty that you have given us. As we gather, we remember that it's not by our own strength, it's not by our own intelligence that we serve and we lead your people, but it's by your Spirit. So as we begin this council meeting for our city of Westfield, we make room for you, Spirit of God, to do what it is that you want to do. We ask for your wisdom beyond our own understanding. We ask for discernment beyond our own experience, and that we honor you in this city, and that honoring you would be the centerpiece of our decisions as we are servants and leaders of this place. Thank you, Father, for your kindness and your goodness to us, your children. It's in the name of Jesus that we gather and we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Justin. Cindy Gasser, could you note the presence of a quorum, please?
Mike Johns.
Here.
Joe Edwards.
Here.
Jake Gilbert.
Here.
Scott Fry.
Here.
Scott Willis.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Does anyone have?
I believe Cindy Spaljarek is on the call.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Cindy.
Hello. Sorry I can't be with you.
Do I have any changes to the agenda tonight? Okay, I actually have one change. We had a presentation scheduled by John Rogers on the ARP funds. We were hoping to have that tonight. Unfortunately, John was unable to do that. We asked for him to do it with 5 days' notice, and the mayor suggests he would need a week's notice. We'd like to, I think as a council, it would be good to get that information as soon as possible, so hopefully we'll be able to get it on the next agenda. As far as I know, the cities of Westfield, of Noblesville, Fishers, and Carmel have already received the ARP information. So it would be helpful to know how much of the ARP, those are the COVID dollars, are being delegated to Westfield, so we can try to plan the use for those funds to
Mike, I
appropriate
can
places.
tell you, I have that information. We set the fund up.
Well, we'll wait for John.
Okay.
John next week. Thank you, Cindy.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or changes to the minutes from last July 12th? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 12th?
I move to approve the minutes of July 12th.
I'll second that.
Okay. Cindy, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes?
Scott Fry.
Yes.
Jake Gilbert.
Yes.
Scott Willis.
Yes.
Cindy Spaljarek.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
The next item on the agenda is the claims. We're looking at the claims docket for July 26, 2021. Are there any additions or questions to the claims docket? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve claims?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got Scott Willis made a motion, seconded by Joe Edwards, to approve the claims docket of July 26th. Cindy, would you call the roll, please?
Cindy Spalgeric,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. The next item on our agenda tonight is a presentation, our sole presentation of the evening. It is a RDC second quarter update by Bob Beaudry and Linda Nass. I'd ask everybody here and those listening to note that this is not the official annual update. This is a quarterly update that the council had asked our representatives on the RDC to prepare for the council on a quarterly basis. So this would be the second quarter report. Linda and Bob, would you like to come up?
Other, sorry. All right, so basically since the last RDC meeting kind of went into April, we're going to start with May, in which neither Linda or I were present at the May RDC meeting. I think that was previous to when you were appointed. Okay, so anyway, but going over the agenda in the minutes, basically William Knox presented the quarter one Grand Park report with a little more detail than we'd been getting, which was, I think, appreciated by the whole commission. In that meeting, they also mentioned and maybe discussed the R&D hub, which you've all heard about out there. There was no vote within the RDC about the the R&D hub, but they discussed it. There was a letter of support to the APC for the downtown comp plan. Again, there was no copy of the letter attached to the agenda, but I think that's forthcoming. And then Joe Plankus, the president of the commission, had requested that the Crone invoices be dated and that Cindy marked when she received them. And I think that was so we could possibly approve them before they've been paid. I'm guessing, I'm assuming. In June, we were both present for that meeting. There was a Grand Park overview, William Knox, where he updated things like future staffing plans. At that meeting, we were to receive the 2022 budget, I think, but it wasn't quite ready yet, so that's forthcoming. We talked about the OpenGov portal training, and Linda, as well as I believe some of the other commission members, have already gone through that training. I believe some of you have as well. I haven't had the training yet, so I plan on doing that in the near future. The memorandum of understanding with Bullpen had not been executed at this time. That was to be presented, and I guess that's been put on for a future date. And all claims were approved in a timely manner. In July, we talked some about the overlapping tax unit. There was a presentation by John Rogers, which pretty much was the whole meeting. He did present the 2021 report on the overhead. However, we haven't received a copy of that yet, so we're waiting for that. There were no claims. Todd Bertrand was not able to make the meeting, so we are still kind of waiting on the MOU with Bullpen. And we're still waiting for William to finish preparing the 2022 Grand Park budget. Well, I anticipate that happening in the near future. So that pretty much summarizes the meetings, the RDC meetings. There were some other meetings that took place. Linda and I met with Ken Coker and Blake Hibbler out at Bullpen and spent a couple hours. I think we've communicated. Linda's going to go into a little bit more depth about that, 'cause she had an opportunity to sit down with William Knox and had a couple meetings that I wasn't in attendance with, and she's going to go through and give you a little detail on that. So with that, that's all I have to present.
Thank you.
Okay, he asked me to add this. On I thank you for your appointment of me to the Redevelopment Commission. My first RDC meeting was June 21st, 2021. I want you to know that I take this opportunity very seriously, and I prepared by reviewing some documents. We did receive a 4-page document prepared by the Taft attorney, Cameron Starnes, entitled RDC 101, and he made a presentation at the March 15th meeting, which helped kind of overview RDC and some relationship to council. There is an Indiana Code 36714 on RDCs. It's the one that covers most about them, how they're set up, what their duties are, what they can and cannot do. In 2019 was published a 197-page handbook for Indiana Redevelopment Commission members and their attorneys. It's prepared by Barnes and Thornburg. They prepare it every couple years. I had the 2017 copy. This is the 2019 copy, and they just sent out an update. So that's a very good resource for everybody, because not only does it talk about RDCs, but it talks about legislative bodies and what they can do. The other document is the 2018 31-page handbook by the Redevelopment Association of Indiana, put out by AIM. That's also a very good resource and overview. So we have good things to go to try to understand. An important Indiana code and reason in part why we are giving this report. And when William and I had our meeting, I read this to him. He's like, good to know. But it's 36714-3B, which says, a redevelopment commission and a Department of Redevelopment are subject to oversight by the legislative body of the unit, including a review by the legislative body of the commission's and department's annual budget. A redevelopment commission and a Department of Redevelopment are, and then it's got 3 things: subject to audit by the state board, covered by public meetings law, and covered by public records law. So we kind of established a base when William and I were talking. So the meetings that I've had since the June 21st meeting, which I was very grateful to have, and will probably continue communications. On July 1st, Bob and I attended a meeting with Todd Bertrand and John Rogers to review the BPT financials, bullpen tournaments, which was 2 pages, a balance sheet, and a revenue and expense statement for the first 5 months of 2021. We asked a few questions, and at that point, Mr. Bertrand asked, would we like to have a meeting with Ken Coker, because he didn't have the answers. And I said, I'll take that meeting, and Bob agreed, so we had that meeting later. On July 2nd, the next day, I met with Chris Larson, IT, for a 1-hour training on OpenGov, because as Bob mentioned and William had mentioned, he wanted us prepared on that because he's entering all of his budget information for Grand Park into that OpenGov. So I went to that training. Jill Doyle was also invited but unable to attend the suggested session times. We discussed with Chris future build-outs of OpenGov, expansion of information improvements, how it interfaces with NAV, the city accounting system software. He illustrated how it's used by budgeting. I stayed through another hour during Mike John's training, so just kind of heard some things and maybe some different things, so that was very good. But Chris was very good at it. I really appreciate his time, and he invited future contact for questions and assistance. Very good meeting. July 13th was when Bob and I went out to meet Ken Coker, and Blake Hibbler, his manager of bullpen tournaments, were there. They had prepared a conference room with an agenda, several exhibits, and took us on a tour of the entire building. We met everybody who works out there, and that was great to understand what they're doing and who's doing what and when and where and how they use that entire building. So that was about a little over a 2-hour meeting, and Ken went back and showed us all the financials going back to 2015. And they were in a little bit more detail because he stood up and told us what was in each of these accounts, so we understood better what we were looking at in the line items. It was a very good meeting, gave an excellent overview of operations, history, growth at Grand Park. Blake Hibbler's been there since it was being constructed. I was impressed by their commitment to high standards for their brand in the city of Westfield. We talked about why that brought them to the point of wanting their own management agreement, so they made sure that everything was cleaned up, the trash was empty, and the toilets were flushing till the end of the evening and the first thing in the morning. That's as simple as it was sometimes. So we ended with a goal of meeting with all the RDC and council members for a similar presentation, because they had an exhibit that showed from their beginning how much they have invested in the Grand Park, because some of the things that they were promised were going to be there weren't there. And so he had a historical listing, how much they put in, what the dates were. For example, there were supposed to be batting cages. There weren't any when it opened, so they put in like 75,000 of those. That was one of the first things they did, but several line items. So that's why I think it would be good for the whole council to sit in this presentation and let them talk you through. They gave us the number of teams, the number of players, year by year. We saw the growth. We saw the COVID effects. So I can't tell you everything, but it was a very good meeting. Okay, later that week, on July 16th, I met with William Knox at Grand Park. Bob wasn't able to go. We were going to review the financials, the details on 2019, 2020, current, and the budget going forward into 2022. We discussed operations past and future. We went through OpenGov as he uses it. He opened up OpenGov, and we went line by line, talked about things. Talked about some improvements we could make to OpenGov that he agreed to, that I'd already discussed with Chris. Being an accounting person, you kind of understand how those softwares work, and having design software, it helps to say, you could change this to that and this. So we had some very good discussions. What items, he talked about what items are in certain funds and discussed additional information that can be included for a better understanding. So if you're just looking at that, there's a column over here where you can say what that means, okay? Which would help even as a reminder. He did a review of venue ops, which Chris had mentioned to us, but he uses that software to schedule and handle events, quite detailed, several levels. That was interesting to understand. So William is very knowledgeable, and everyone would benefit from hearing more from him directly. So we also ended that meeting with the goal of making a similar presentation to all of RDC and all of the council, so you could all understand what's going on. He doesn't have a whole lot to do with Bullpen. They pretty much are doing their own thing and doing it pretty well at this point, but he does interface with, the event center, the soccer teams, the lacrosse teams. I said, well, hey, how'd we do on that, what was it called? The Barstools event. And he said, oh, we could have done it for free. And I'm like, oh, don't say that to me. I'm representing the public. He said, no, we made $69,400. And I said, good number, and he thinks they could do better in the future. We talked about, that campus having a cap on it. You can only get so many people, so many events. There's only so many days in the year. And that's what he's looking forward into the future of how we schedule things, how best to schedule things, what we can do to get the most out of that. So that was a very good meeting, and we'll be discussing more about the budget in the future. He told me to call him anytime. I have one more upcoming meeting, and that's July 28th with John Rogers. Per my request for 3 bids on the RFP on Grand Park management, including the one from Bullpen Tournaments, all were discussed by the RDC on December 21st without view, is my understanding. And I told Ken Coker in our meeting when he asked about it, I said, I've already requested a copy of your bid and the others, and I will, continue making the effort to get those. So I'm meeting with John on Wednesday this week to get copies of those. Ken was quite proud of what was in his bid, but I haven't seen it all yet. I have some hints of what's in it, so I'm kind of excited to see what was in there. I just think it's good information for everybody to know. Pending and upcoming, I made a list of things because I've kind of been tracking. I've only been to 2 meetings, but I'd like to see these things happen. The 2022 budget's going to be big for all of you and us. The quarterly Grand Park reports from William Knox will continue. He did much better in the first quarter one. And as we had our meeting, I think he can do much better. The MOU for the Give Back Westfield, we're still waiting for that to be approved and signed by the RDC. Discussion of the implementation. They had a problem with putting that, Bullpen is doing it, but when people came to the gate and we encompassed 6 city addresses, they didn't know who lived where or what. So it's still a little confusing for them. They have like 17-year-old kids who do that, so I understand that. The presentation by Bullpen to all of the RDC and council was penciled in by Joe after our July meeting. Bullpen wanted it in September. I talked to Joe after the meeting Monday night, and he thought, yeah, we can probably do that. So it's penciled in, and we'll have to see that come to fruition. John Rogers is working on the correction of the 2020 overlapping tax units presentation. I don't know if you remember a year ago, but they couldn't get it loaded, technical difficulties, but there was no page on the impacts of the other taxing units. That page wasn't included. So he was very good about sending that to me last Friday, but it read like gibberish. Somehow in transferring this document to that document, it was just all kinds of characters. So he's working on that for us. And he's working on getting a website posting of the 2021 overlapping tax units presentation. You understand they're called Investing with Purpose, that he just presented this year to us at the last meeting. So we still haven't seen a hard copy. And it's hard to remember all the things that were on the screen without having that to follow. There's a pro forma coming up with John Rogers of future improvements and replacements at Grand Park. I talked to Ken about that. We talked to William about that. So as budget time is coming, there's going to be work on a pro forma. Copies of monthly appeals from the auditor, which Todd Bertrand on June 21st said he would supply to the RDC members for review. Haven't got a copy yet, but I have it on my list. Hope we see it soon. The TIF neutralization worksheet, approximately August 1st, it comes out from the auditor. John Rogers on 6/21 said he will provide it to RDC members. These are documents that, according to code and all the handbooks, the commission is supposed to be reviewing these and commenting on them. So I think we're going to get copies of those to do that. The posting of the letter of support to the APC for the downtown comp plan addendum Bob mentioned, we're just waiting to see the hard copy of that. It was approved at the May meeting. And then we're expecting the return of the amending resolution that's affecting the Union Square project downtown. Don't know exactly what will come forward, but we're expecting something, so I made a note. That's all I have, unless you have any questions. The meetings were great. I totally enjoyed it. We kind of cleared the air, and I think we have good relationships where we can continue talking.
Excellent.
Councilors, questions?
I'm not going to give out any proprietary secrets, but there were hardly any. So,
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate the information.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Bob and
Anything?
Linda, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for your passion on this, okay?
Oh, sure.
And it's, yeah, I think we've got a couple of great representatives on there.
Absolutely.
all right, thank you.
You know, I was good hearing that information about Ken Coker and Bullpen, because I personally, I didn't have a lot of information, I don't know them, I haven't met them before, and you hear different things from different people, and there's always two sides to every story. And it's good to have some, firsthand information coming back and those details. So, again, thank you. Made my day. Appreciate it. Okay. We're moving on to old business. We're looking at ordinance 21-14, Sycamore Glen PUD. This PUD had a council introduction on March 8th, followed by an APC public hearing on April 5th. What came before the APC for recommendation on July 19th, where it received a favorable 8-0 recommendation, and it's up this evening for adoption consideration. I believe that is Caleb going to introduce it?
Yeah, actually, I'm filling in for Caleb this evening, and you did a great job summarizing. We don't have anything to add other than introducing the petitioner for a brief update and presentation this evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening. For the record, John Dobashewitz with Nelson and Frankenberger. We represent the petitioner, Coronado Custom Homes. Present tonight on behalf of the petitioners, Martin Short of Coronado Development Corporation, as well as Rick Lawrence, an attorney with our office. As noted, the petition before the council this evening is the rezone to permit the development of a single-family subdivision by Coronado Custom Homes. The subject real estate's outlined in yellow. It's on the image on display. It consists of approximately 28.5 acres and is located on the south side of 159th Street, just west of Town Road. Kevin, if you could advance to the next exhibit there, thank you. An updated concept plan for Sycamore Glen, as it's a neighborhood, is on the right, and the plan as filed and reviewed at introduction is on the left. Significant modifications and enhancements have been made to the plan since this matter was first introduced on March 8th. I wanted to review with the council those modifications and enhancements before adoption consideration this evening. They include the following. The underlying zoning was modified from SF3 request to SF2 single-family low density with numerous enhancements. And most notably, the maximum number of lots under the proposal was reduced from 55 as originally presented to 31 lots, a reduction of 24 lots, which resulted in an overall density of approximately 1.1 homes per acre. Regarding lot area, a minimum average lot size of 26,000 square feet was added. That's over 1/2 acre in size. As a result, all the lots along the east and west perimeter of the development now are in excess of 1/2 acre in size. The minimum lot width was increased from 85 feet to 100 feet for all lots, and the average depth of lots was increased from 145 feet to approximately 190 to 300 feet in depth. The minimum rear yard setback for all lots along the east and west perimeter was enhanced to a minimum of 50 feet, including 20 feet of tree preservation area. And then regarding architecture, the enhancement made there was that all homes would have a side load garage rather than the previous submittal with only requiring 50% of those homes to have a side load garage. Open space was increased from 15 to 23%. And additionally, the expansion of the common area along the west perimeter of the property reduced the number of lots adjacent to that property down to 3. This was the original plan that had numerous lots along this western edge. This is the revised plan that expands that open space area, and now there are 3 lots which are adjacent to the property to the east. Interestingly, or as of note, each of those 3 lots is now heavily buffered with existing trees and are each approximately 3/4 of an acre in area. You can advance to the next slide, Kevin. In addition to the ordinance, enhancements were also made, which include commitments which were made to the Plan Commission and are before you this evening. As requested, the Plan Commission asked Coronado to reach out to adjacent neighbors east and west of the property at their June 7th Plan Commission meeting, and Coronado was able to offer several enhancements to the plan. In this regard, there are commitments, and those commitments include the following. Regarding drainage, which was a concern of the owner to the west, Coronado is committed to pay particular attention to the location of the legal drain, which intersects the property along the east property line. Regarding landscaping, a no-mow zone and native pollinator planting area was added of at least 1 acre in size. That's the lighter green area in the common space here along the west perimeter of the site. Also regarding landscaping, in addition to the tree preservation along the east and west perimeter, there were 45 evergreen trees added. You can see those noted here along the west perimeter, as well as 20 evergreen trees added along the east perimeter. Additionally, along the east perimeter, there's going to be a 3-foot tall berm installed along the rear of the lots closest to 159th Street, those 2 lots here, Lot 1 and Lot 2. Additionally, there, a minimum rear yard setback of 80 feet would be added for those homes. Again, that's a minimum rear yard setback of 80 feet for those 2 lots adjacent to the existing home along 159th Street. Regarding home builders, Coronado will be the only builder within the subdivision. This was a big step for Coronado. They understand the concern of the Plan Commission and are comfortable that if something prevented Coronado from building all the homes on all the lots at some point in the future, that the Plan Commission could approve another builder if request was made. This commitment puts the decision in the hands of the Plan Commission if it ever came to pass that Coronado did not construct each and every house within the development. Regarding lawn maintenance, there was also a provision for natural fertilizer and low-impact weed treatments, and a prohibition against insect fogging. There are also a few more additional commitments in those written commitments that were offered regarding the installation of 5 bat houses, investigation of potential noncompliance regarding stormwater. There's a development to the south. The neighbor asked Coronado to look into that, and we'll be contacting the surveyor's office just to have them go out and make sure that everything's in the right order regarding water that's coming across this site, generally from the south, north, and west across this parcel today, so we'll be following up on that. And then finally, there was a prohibition against swimming pools on certain lots, those lots being lots 1 and 2 as identified here, as well as the 3 lots along the west perimeter of the site. In conclusion, the request was introduced at your March meeting and had a public hearing in front of the Plan Commission on April the 5th. Coronado sincerely appreciates the constructive comments that were provided not only by the City Council, but also the Plan Commission and the public, and they've worked diligently to incorporate those into the ordinance and commitments that are before you this evening. As indicated at the July 19th Plan Commission meeting, the Commission voted unanimously, 8 votes to 0, to forward the ordinance back to the City Council with a favorable recommendation for approval, including the commitments. This evening, we would respectfully request that the council take up adoption consideration and approve the ordinance for the Sycamore Glen PUD this evening. With that, I'll conclude and be glad to address any questions the council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Councilors, questions?
Yeah, I've got a few questions, if I may. First of all, before I get into the questions, I wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank everybody involved with making this a solid project. I mean that. I think this is the type of project that Westfield needs. That said, this is my district, and I'm not sure that the neighbors are convinced that this is necessarily 100% the right spot for it. But again, I do definitely appreciate the effort, and I think the effort is has certainly been good. I do have questions about some of the commitments that have been made as far as how do we enforce some of those commitments. I mean, we've got a guy that's directly to the west who's an organic farmer. He has a lot of concern about chemical drift and things like that. And I know that during construction, we can handle, we're not going to use these pesticides, whatever the case might be, for the lawns that we're trying to establish. Once it becomes HOA, how do we enforce that? What is the safety net that those homeowners that currently live there, what do they have?
The commitment's unchanged. It's just who's the enforcement authority. So the commitment's still made to the Plan Commission and to the council, so it's a requirement regardless of the enforcement authority. What the city planning office wanted to ensure of community development, that they're not getting those calls about, hey, we think somebody's using something they shouldn't. They would direct those calls to the HOA. Before the adoption or approval of the secondary plat and construction plans, there would be a covenants and restrictions submitted to staff, and staff would confirm that there's the language necessary in those covenants and restrictions for the HOA to enforce that. So in essence, it's the HOA, the people with a direct contact with the real estate, enforcing that, rather than the city community development getting a call saying, hey, I wonder about what my neighbor's using on their lawn. If for some reason they didn't get satisfaction, the person who had the interest, they could call on the city to enforce the commitment. It's just the first level of defense, if you will, would be for the HOA to take action.
Okay. Okay, so then if the HOA does not take action, that's where the city would then, the current neighbor would have to step in and say, hey, this is not being handled to our satisfaction. We've got a big concern. Obviously, being an organic farmer, that's an issue. So, okay. I've got another question about construction traffic. I know some of the construction traffic on 159th Street, narrow roads, the folks that are back there now have voiced a concern about that multiple times. And I don't know if there's any special consideration given here as to, what we're going to do or how we're going to get the equipment back there that needs to get back there.
The only avenue, no pun intended, for construction traffic to enter the site would be off of 159th Street. There isn't an eligible access way from adjoining properties to the east, west, or south.
No plan for any sort of turn lane that we're throwing in there with gravel or anything like that? I mean,
the access that's provided to the site would be directly across from the entrance into Bent Creek. So that provides, in essence, it's already built today. So there wouldn't be a second point of ingress and egress to where a passing blister would be necessary, because that intersection will be redesigned, or intersection, if you will, the alignment of those two streets, so the traffic could get around to the outside of any traffic entering and exiting the site.
all right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Mike?
Councilors? Cindy, yes.
Sure. I want to thank the petitioner on this. They've been stellar to work with. They accommodated most of the neighboring residents' concerns, although I'm sure not all, but have done a very good job in trying to be sensitive to this site and this specific situation that they have. You can't tell from the map, but there is development that will be occurring to the south, and there's already development to the north. And so, finding the right project to put into what is kind of an infill, half and half of an infill, if you will. I think they did an incredible job. And so I was really happy with everything that they've done. And I just want to say thank you for taking the attention and time to work with the neighbors and to make the changes that were suggested. So thank you.
What was the average suggested home price, sale price on these, John, now with the changes?
We originally reported a number to the Plan Commission. That was based upon the 55 lot plan, which I think was somewhere between 500 and 650. With this plan, I think we would be comfortable it's 800 plus, 800,000 for each individual home plus site, or excuse me, lot and home, 800,000.
Any other questions? Councilors, comments?
I would say again, I really do appreciate the effort that you guys have put forward. I really do.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 21-14, Sycamore Glen PUD?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Cindy, would you call the roll, please?
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
No.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Cindy Spalgeric,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
Thanks everyone for the time.
Thank you, John. Mark, thank you. All right. Next item is new business. Resolution 21-124, which is the establishment of an economic revitalization area, Wrights Property Grant Park LLC, has a council introduction this evening and then up for adoption consideration on August 23rd. And Kai, you want to help me with this? Because I think then this also dovetails into the next resolution, doesn't it?
Thank you, Councilor Johns. For the record, Kai Chuck from Economic Development Director. Good evening, councilors. I'm here to introduce and establish of a new economic revitalization area on approximately 4 acres located at 360 East 186th Street. At Grand Park, the property is west of Grand Park Boulevard and east of Kinsey Boulevard. The establishment of the ERA will allow tax abatement to be applied to the property, which segues into the resolution 121125, which is the introduction of real property tax abatement for 10 years for Wrights Grand Property LLC. Which is the parent company of 360 Movement Academy, located at the address previously mentioned at 360 East 186th Street. The abatement is a 10-year real property abatement at 40% flat for the entire term of the abatement from year 1 to year 10. The abatement is contingent on the creation of the second floor, which will house the headquarters and administration of the company. The total investment is estimated at $5.1 million and 37,000 square feet total, including the first and second floor. The investment will allow the company to relocate 19 current jobs in Westfield to Grand Park location and 15 jobs that are currently outside of Westfield to Grand Park, 37 additional new jobs to Grand Park in the future within 3 to 5 years. The company's principals, Casey Wright and Tate Schultz, are present but will not present. They're happy to answer any questions. The company representative, Matt Skelton, is present and will present a project overview. Both he and myself will be available for questions.
Thank you, Kai.
Good evening, members of the council. For your record, my name is Matt Skelton with the Church Hill and Antrim with offices at 116 North Union Street. Here in town with me this evening is Tate Schutz and Casey Wright with Wright Property Grand Park LLC. I'll try not to repeat anything that Kai has covered here. There are 2 items on your agenda this evening, and I'll just use some really basic terminology just to summarize. The first item, 21-124, establishes an economic revitalization area which allows the subject property to be eligible for a tax abatement request. And then the second item, 21-125, is that request. So that's why they're both on there. As Kai mentioned, the entire building, the gymnastics, it's more than gymnastics, but it will be largely gymnastics facility, is 37,000 square feet as proposed. The main floor of the building is about 25,000 square feet. It will be used largely for gymnastics programming, training, events. This company owns the Ninja brands. If you're familiar with Ninja Zone, and there's several other Ninja brand related companies that would also be hosted here, both for preschool and adolescents. There's dance activities, active learning, preschool, and there's classrooms on the main floor as well. The addition, the enhanced building that is proposed here this evening allows some additional things to happen on this site, additional important things, especially within the context of the business of sports. Specifically, and this is in your materials, summarized in your materials, but this would provide for the consolidation, relocation, and expansion of Wright's corporate offices, which are principally located in Greenwood right now. There's still some folks doing some virtual activities, but they're headquartered largely in Greenwood. That would all move here, their corporate office. This would allow the relocation and expansion of the Ninja Zone global headquarters, which serves 300 facilities globally. About 280 of those are throughout the United States. About 20 of them are abroad, and there's a concentration of them in Australia. The company has some affiliations with another company that engages in similar activities in China. This would also allow for the relocation and expansion of the merchandise fulfillment center that is currently located in Noblesville. So the Ninja Zone headquarters right now is in Noblesville. The merchandise fulfillment center that they have is also located in Noblesville. That would all move to this same facility. And so all the corporate jobs would be in that upper mezzanine area. I think Kai covered the details of the abatement adequately. One thing that I would point out, this wasn't really reflected in the materials that were submitted. It's really it's related but not part of an abatement request, but this does advance the sports tourism initiative of the city. By expanding this facility, it would allow the holding of competitions, larger competitions, conferences, meets, larger events that would have additional spectators, and which of course results in additional visitorship to the city, which the city does so well. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks. We're here to answer any questions that you may have, and we look forward to working with you as we go through this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Counselors, questions?
I guess I've got a question.
Sure.
Matt, you referenced, some tourists and some, folks coming in for different meets and different activities.
Uh-huh.
Can you give us examples of what some of those might be?
I can, and you'll have to forgive me because if you get very deep, I'm standing in for my partner who is not feeling well this evening.
Okay.
So would one of you mind explaining? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
As far as the events go, we'll have an opportunity to host a plethora of gymnastics competitions. We have We've hosted events in Noblesville and Greenwood. We'll be able to host those in-house and also bring in regional and national competitions on the gymnastics side. Opening up the dance will allow us to bring in competitions for that as well. And then we're really excited about the conferences to bring in the business leaders of the sports world. I also run a podcast and an education company called The Sports Entrepreneur, which we will be doing sports, small business education for not only our licensees, but multiple after-school sports. So,
Okay. Thank you. And those, several of those events are multi-day events?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Mhm.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Kai, we normally get, like with the schedule, some dollars and cents in terms of what we can expect AV to bring in and how much we would be abating. I've not seen that. Are we going to see that?
Yes, we do. I apologize. I had sent that earlier, but I'll resend it out to the council.
Okay, was that, I've only read through the agenda. Was that sent to us?
That was sent earlier previously as a project summary.
Okay, all right, thank you. I can go back and look at that. So, I was a little confused about, are you asking us to abate the second floor only?
So it's not easily distinguishable like that, but essentially, yes. The abatement is for the purpose and would be applicable to the real estate, but the reason it's a 40% amount is because it's related to the space that's being added over and above the normal programming that we would do without the abatement.
So
Does
the
that make sense?
first floor is coming regardless?
It is.
That's what's being
Yeah,
built when I drive by there.
we're coming to Westfield. Yep.
And then
We
the
own the real
second
estate.
floor is the headquarters and the 15 jobs.
Well, yeah, it's 37 jobs.
Well, yeah, over 3 to 5 years,
Yes.
37 jobs, got
Yep.
that. And then, like I heard, $5 million, but 37,000 square feet, so I guess I was getting confused between the total square footage and the second floor square footage in that abatement part. So Kai, that's all I'm asking for, is
Yeah.
clarity on what we were actually abating, the actual dollars for those things. So if you could get us that would be awesome.
Okay. Oh, I will.
Because it's kind of, with the first floor already there, it's a little, we have not done one like this since I've been on the council, so.
Correct. So I will revise and send it out to the council.
Thank you, sir.
And so there's no confusion. It's 40% on the assessed value of the entire property, but the purpose is to incentivize the addition of the corporate offices at the second floor. But I'll work with Kai and we'll do something that is simpler to understand than that, if that confuses you.
40% on 100% of the square footage.
Exactly.
That 40% is what's going to allow them to build the second floor and bring more dollars
Correct.
to the area.
Correct.
The value of the value of the second floor is 40% of the entire building.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I think this is a great project for Westfield. It's the type of project we'd like to have in Grant Park. One of the questions and concerns I have is this the same ninja zone that had sued the city of Westfield?
Yes, I believe so.
And did we settled that suit, didn't we?
That is correct.
And how much did we settle that for?
I do not know at this time, but I can find out for the total amount that we settled for.
Okay, I'd be interested in hearing that. I thought I heard once at one point $640,000 or $650,000, but if you could find out, Kai, that would be helpful. Help me make a decision.
All right, I will. Thank you.
So if the second floor, I'm sorry, I apologize. So if the second floor is 40% of the value of the whole building, you're saying, right? So if we abate 40% every year for 10 years, we're abating the entire second floor the whole time, which would be the equivalent of us giving 100% abatement on that second floor 10 years in a row, not like a graduated abatement like we have done on several other projects.
If you'll allow me, we'll crunch some numbers and make it. I think that might have been a misstatement, but let me meet with my partner we'll cook it together so it makes sense to everybody. Because I don't think that that was the intention.
Okay.
And then just quickly on the settlement, I think that that was a settlement for, I'm unfamiliar with the details, but I think it was a settlement for early termination of a contract. And so, and I can tell you, every penny of that is being reinvested right here in Westfield. So, but I'm sure between Kai and I, we can cobble together the information that you need.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was a breach of contract by the city when we signed with the Colts that put them out of their space for a period of time, and they could no longer run their business, which meant we were in breach of our contract with the company, so. But yeah, if you have any additional details, I think that would be beneficial.
Thank you, Kai.
May I ask a question?
Cindy, go ahead.
Sorry. I was wanting to understand better the jobs that are going to be occurring on the second floor. I'm assuming that the majority of the bottom floor is going to be with the trainers, camp counselors, these kind of positions. How many are going to be up on that second floor, and what are they doing?
So the positions that will be added will be everything from people involved in the programming to people who are among the higher ranks of the corporate structure. So there's 37 employees estimated. We try to be conservative about that. We don't want to overpromise. We'd prefer to underpromise. But all of the corporate related functions, for the most part, will be on the top level of the facility. So it's not like they have to have different hall passes to get to different parts of the building. I mean, it's all one organization. But does that respond to your question? I can try to give you a better breakdown between now and our next meeting.
Well, I guess I'm just having a bit of trouble understanding what exactly is occurring up there because, I don't understand right now how many people work more of the corporate side of this business and what's going to be occurring there versus more the gym part of this.
We can provide that information.
Okay, thank you.
Casey Wright would like to address you too.
Hi, thanks for your question. So the corporate employees will be everything from marketing, administration, leadership, business development, but primarily business development, as well as the programming. In the short time that we were at the Grand Park Event Center, we actually had a visit from China to that space because of Grand Park, and that sparked a development in China. So we're actually we've opened 2 locations with a partner there in Beijing, and we really hope that being here and having the space to be able to do on-site programming, we can expand the global headquarters and those leadership positions a lot more. And like they said, we really wanted to be conservative in terms of the numbers because that hasn't happened yet, but it is starting to grow. So those would be mainly leadership.
Councilors, any other comments, questions? Guy, Matt, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda today is any comments from guests in the audience who would like to address the council this evening? Kevin, do we have any cards?
We do not.
Okay. Moving on then, next item is the clerk treasurer has some comments. You got through.
As council's aware, over the past few months, I've been dealing with the situation. Sorry. As you're all aware, over the past few months, I've been dealing with a situation in my office involving a spyware software by a company called Beyond Trust that was found on all 6 of the computers in the clerk's office. It's my understanding that this software was purchased and installed by the city's IT department. The software appears to give unfettered and unauthorized access into the computers and data systems in my office. This situation is deeply concerning, given that this software would allow a user to potentially access city financial information, city bank information, and information on city employees. Further, a user could potentially use this software to access and change data in a way that would make it appear like these systems were being accessed and changed by either myself or someone on my staff. With this in mind, I do have a couple of updates for the council on this issue. First is the council is aware we have made repeated requests to have the software removed from the computers in my office, and as of today, they're still on all of them. However, Mr. Bergen has been in communication with my counsel, Mr. Weber, and it's my understanding that Mr. Bergen and Mr. Larson, the head of City IT, are willing to meet to discuss the issue with both Mr. Webster and Councilman Gilbert. Given some unavailability due to scheduled vacations, we're anticipating this meeting will occur sometime next week. Second, I can advise the council that my office is undertaking efforts to further investigate this matter to determine who has been accessing my computers or all the computers in the clerk's office, and if any systems have been compromised. To that end, we've retained a company that specializes in forensic IT investigations to examine the computers in my office, and we anticipate this process will take several weeks, and we will share the findings with the council when they become available. Finally, I'm also exploring various IT solutions for my office to address the fact that it does not appear that the administration is willing to honor my request to move the software, has limited my ability to communicate directly with city IT, and has restricted my use of email and other modes of communication with the city employees, similar to what they've done to you guys. However, I'm going to defer making any decisions with respect to the potential IT solutions until we have received the results of the forensic IT examination. And that's all I have at this time, but I will keep the council advised.
Thank you, Cindy.
Cindy, what does this spyware do?
I'm sorry?
What does this spyware do?
Well, it has the capability to do all kinds of things. My attorney is in the office. If you have questions, you can contact him at some time, or instead of getting into a big discussion in a council meeting.
Yeah, I think that probably this time we want to thank Cindy for her update. The mayor's not here tonight to comment, so I would say, though, from a council standpoint, that we are concerned with an ongoing infighting that's happened between the clerk treasurer's office and the administration for the last year and a half, and we are hoping that it can be resolved in short order, and we'll leave it at that for this evening, if that's all right, councilors.
Chris, did you want to speak to the software? Joe asked about the software. You put it on. Do you want to speak or do you not want to speak?
I'll only speak if you want to hear it tonight.
So what?
I'll only speak if you guys would like to hear it tonight.
Well, you
In
put it
this
on.
public
Joe
forum.
asked what it does.
Well,
What's it do?
my thought about this, if they can alter, delete, or add stuff to records, that's not a very good thing. I mean,
Joe, I will tell you that when we sent out the letter, I believe it was in May, we had like a 5-page or more packet of what this software is capable of. And again, I'm responsible for all these records, and if, I want to know who's been in it and where they've been when they were in it, because I'm responsible.
but this is spyware. This is spyware.
I would not say it's spyware.
Well, that's what all the other IT people say, so I don't know. I'm not an IT person.
We have this actually installed on every machine in the city. We have used a version of it since 2011. It used to be called BombGuard, then they got a new name. Changed it to Beyond Trust, as a lot of technology companies do. And it is IT's department main remote access tool for helping assist with computer issues.
Now, Chris, I'm on city email. You're telling me this is on my machine too?
Only on any city machine.
City computers.
They have purchased 6, all in my office.
So we
So
have.
it's not on my computer. It better not be.
No, sir, it's not on your personal machine? It is
Yes.
not. No.
Okay, it better not be.
You can
That's all I'm saying.
go check. I'm pretty sure it's not. We do have, at one point, we did have 5 licenses. The invoices show 6. One is annual maintenance and agreements support license, and then the other 5 are for 5 users, which was my department, except for our GIS manager. Those were all purchased at the start of COVID because we were going to work from home. 2 of those actually expired in June of last year, so we don't have those 2 anymore. The remaining 3 are shared by the 5 of us, so that if one of us needs to go in, we access that license. As soon as we're done, the license is released. So if there are 3 of us using the software, a 4th one cannot get in.
I thought I heard it said that it was on everybody's machine that works for the city. Is this true?
It's on every city machine. Every police officer.
It's software. We have it in our company. It's software you download and allows somebody to remote in. But you have to have, if I'm not mistaken, you have to have permission to access the desktop, correct? So you have to, when you're going to remote in, you have to ask, and you have to click a button to accept to allow them to give you control of the computer. Is that not correct? Or?
Ours does take control. When we log in, people can end the session at any time by clicking the X in the box. A box pops up that shows informatics support is here. It's an icon we can't remove. There's also a flashing chat box that is accessible. And just to say, the data that she's trying to protect is the data I'm trying to protect. Let it be clear that we have to be CJIS compliant in our department because we're dealing with police officers, which is the FBI certification. So we care about data as well. And we're actually also concerned about a compromise, and we're also hoping to do an investigation. Because if there is, as we stated, it is on all the machines in the city, that could be a real concern, obviously.
Well, I thought I heard just 6 though.
There were 6 Beyond Trust purchased, and if you look at all 6 of the computers in my office, it's on every single one.
But you're buying a license, not for a computer, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. No, it's a license per user for IT.
It's a license per user.
Yeah.
If I can ask you a question very quickly. So I appreciate the overview there of kind of the intended purpose as far as support. With this software, is it possible to access someone's computer remotely without them knowing it?
We could, yes, but we could not log in as them. So oftentimes we have to push updates or do something, and we log in as an admin to do that, but that has its own profile. It is not the user's profile.
So to that point, then, any sort of forensic research that we do, it'll show, we logged in as IT and
Yeah, it
uploaded
absolutely
this new
should.
firmware and everything's good.
Yes.
Counselors, I'm going to suggest we don't get any deeper into the weeds tonight. I think we don't get any deeper into the weeds. I think it would be inappropriate for the council to do that at this time. Chris, thank you for your
Thank you.
information.
Chris, I'm the one who's been pushing this meeting. I think if you go over there and can just see in person and talk with Cindy in person and all the fine people in the office and hear them out, give your side, everything, I just believe in communication. I think we as a city have a lot more urgency on this issue than the attorneys. So
I agree.
I'm
Thank
the
you.
one pushing the meeting, and I want it to happen, okay? So Cindy, I hope you're still agreeable if Chris comes over and that we can hear them out and hear their point of view, and their office can listen to you, and hopefully we can take a step forward before we end up throwing money away again.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
very much.
I'm available whenever.
Thank you, Cindy. All right, moving along, city council comments. Comments from the finance committee.
Well, Troy's not here tonight, but he did convey that, our August meeting, it's entirely possible there's a scheduling conflict, so we'll have to push that back potentially to the following week. But that's the only update that I've got there. We'll have that determination in the next couple days.
Joe?
I did get in touch with Jeff Spalding, who is the Chief Financial Officer and Controller at Noblesville, and asked about this is their first year in an independent audit. And he said that it wasn't without some catches, but he said it worked out pretty well. And he says there does not have to be an internal controls office, or there can be one person who is the internal control officer. So we would have a staff person here who would be, the mayor would name as internal controls officer. And so I think as soon as the mayor names his appointment, I think we're ready to go.
Do we know if we've made any progress towards that? Manny, do you happen to know?
What was the question, sir?
Have we made any progress, or has the mayor made any progress towards appointing anyone?
I'm not sure. I'm sure you could give him a call.
Say it again?
I'm sure you can give him a call.
Thank you for your help, I appreciate it.
Sure.
We just need to get this rolling because we are asking to be in line. It's like a jet saying we need to take a different place on the runway and do the takeoff. Well, we're asking for the 2021 year, and the year is rolling right along.
Do we know how it's being treated in the budget? That's been one outstanding question.
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll have to allow for it in the budget, that's for sure, but we're kind of, all dodging around and with meetings on that yet, so.
Gotcha.
Report on the APC. Cindy's not here tonight, so I'm going to give the report. Last Monday's meeting on July 19th, we had 2 consent agenda items. The first was the learning experience, which was a detailed development plan of a 10,000 square foot daycare and facility center on 1.03 acres in Maple Knoll Plan Unit Development. That was approved 8-0. And the second was a consent agenda item for Sherman-Williams. And they're putting a building in on 4,000 square feet, commercial business, and over by the Austrian PUD on Route 32. Following that, we had 2 items of new business. We had the Sycamore Glen PUD, which was approved this evening. And then we also had a Chatham Villages South introduction, and that essentially is the land that is south of, just north of 191st Street and connects with Chatham Villages, which is will be east of Tomlinson Road. So that basically is the road that's going to flow north from there into the villages. So that was introduced last week also. In addition to that, we had a fairly lengthy discussion about revising our downtown comp plan. You probably have heard we've had several developers who are interested in getting some more clarity and guidance for our downtown development. Dan Moyer had brought forth a consulting firm that a number of us met with about maybe 6 weeks ago or so, with the idea of really it's I see it as kind of a 3-pronged deal. First, it's to re-identifying which is our 1%, 2%, and 3% tax properties, identified properties within the downtown area. The other is part 2 is to really review our thoroughfare plan, make sure that the streets are actually designed and they're in the right place as what we had anticipated to grow the downtown. And the third thing is really to look at the mass of the buildings and the design of the buildings to be built there. So since that time, we've had a couple other developers ask for similar information. So during the course of our meeting, I think that Kevin Todd had expressed to us that his plate is pretty full now. Our planners are beyond buried in work. The good news is, I think we've had, Kevin, I think you said 1,056 permits or something like that in the first 6 months.
Yeah, I don't have the number in front of me, but yeah, that sounds
Versus
about
like
right.
720 or something last year.
Yep.
So we're tracking, 80% higher than where we were last year, which was a record year. So obviously the APC and we're all understand that Kevin is swamped and that he doesn't have a whole lot of time for planning. He's just trying to keep his head above water. So I just raised this issue with the council. We may have to come back to the council for some guidance in the near future and some direction as to, do we go ahead and bring another consultant in, take a look at two, and if we did, what kind of dollars should we spend as we look forward to that? So again, raising the issue tonight, letting you know what's on the table. But there is a sense of urgency because our downtown area, we're primed to take off, and we need to have I think a more defined vision as to what we need to look like. So that's my report on the APC. Any other comments, councilors? Okay, there'll be no comments from the mayor this evening, so with that, we'll adjourn this evening's meeting. Thank you all.